Hey guys, and welcome to another great episode of the Bump Card Wrestling Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Brian, and with me, my tag partner, Psycho. How are we doing today, Psycho?
I'm doing fantastic. Now.
Right? Good to hear. Yeah, we had a great show at Devotion Championship Wrestling's Heartbreak Showdown, which featured the legendary Tommy Dreamer from WWE and ECW and currently with Impact. If you guys didn't have a chance to make it out, you guys will definitely be able to see that on the YouTube page as well as on Fight TV. So go to Devotion Championship Wrestling on YouTube or find us on Fight TV as you guys, that way you guys will be able to see that as well as subscribe to both. That way you guys will always know when that stuff's available. In addition, we just recently had a great episode of part one with Brad Landon, who has been all over Utah wrestling. And I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. If you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to that one as well. And listen out for any new episodes we have coming out. After this week, we will be starting something new, building up to WrestleMania. You want to explain it, Psycho?
Yes. So we're going to be going each week through 10 WrestleManias at a time. So 1 through 10, 11 through 30. And basically, we're going to go over if we think that the main event should have been rebooked differently or if it should have stayed the same. And we're going to dissect that. So fun stuff.
Yep. So, yeah, just like Psycho said, 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, and so on. So, we'll be doing that for the next several episodes following this. Let us know what you guys think of that. If you have any questions for those episodes, please let us know by going to our social medias, which is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Be Hero Media. And you can find everything that is the Bump Card and Be Hero Media at BeHeroMedia.com. All right, Psycho, we have a great guest tonight. A kid who I would like to say I had a good hand in training in his years here with Devotion Championship Wrestling and has had a long featured storyline with yourself through Devotion Championship Wrestling. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. we've had interesting rivalry for sure.
Definitely. Well, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to the one and only Bonesaw William Cutting. How are we doing today, Cuddy?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Good to hear.
Well, as we go through these episodes, I'm sure you've heard a couple of these so far. We like to try and talk about what's been going on with your build up to wrestling. But before we do that, I just want to let everybody know who you are. For everyone who has not followed Devotion Championship Wrestling, which I again suggest you go back and watch those episodes on our YouTube page, Bonesaw has been pretty much the guy. He is, I believe he's the only guy who's ever held every single title in Devotion Championship Wrestling, even ones he ends up throwing away. So he is the man when it comes to Devotion Championship Wrestling. He's the only Grand Slam champion that I know of that we have. He was the first Utah State television title champion. So please, everyone, welcome Cuddy to the show. That being said, Cuddy, we start this off every time with every interview. What got you in the wrestling and what got you in, or how was your training into the business? Like, how did you find that?
So, what got me into wrestling is my grandparents. They were big. My grandpa was a big wrestling fan. And my grandma and grandpa's first date was actually to go see Killer Kowalski versus Gory Guerrero out in the old Provo Arena. So, I mean,
Nice.
If you look at it like that, like I wouldn't even be here without wrestling. My family wouldn't be here without wrestling. So that's something that I hold dear. It's something that I hold dear to my heart and something I've always wanted to do. As far as how I got into training for it, I was friends with Manny on Facebook, saw him a couple times at another promotion, and I was like, when I saw that he posted that he was going to open up his own school, I messaged him right away saying, hey, I want in. He's like, all right, come have a tryout. Showed up. The rest is history, man.
Right on. That's awesome. I believe that's probably where I met you. Was your first day of the tryout training?
Yeah, I think so.
That was seemingly forever ago. It was only like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I've been with the company pretty much since after that first January or December show that they ran. So yeah, I would have had to been there.
I remember when I first started going to DCW shows before I joined up with DCW. I remember attending a DCW show and seeing this guy come out with the butcher shop and you'll laugh at this, Cutting, but you reminded me of somebody that I would like see like selling newspapers in like Newsies or something. Like you just reminded me of somebody from a musical.
It was that bowler's cap, wasn't it?
Oh, that was a big part of it.
The bowler's cap and the vest and the long hair.
Yes.
it probably didn't help with that really bad Irish accent you had too.
Oh yeah, that was I try to forget that. We don't talk about that, man.
You definitely stood out to me though.
Well, good. That was the whole hope that I stood out.
How did training go for you before you had your first match?
Oh, it was long. Because I wanted to get in the ring and I wanted to perform as soon as possible. So it was late nights with, at the time, Echo, and it was staying there until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays because I didn't work Friday. So it was getting as many reps in as I possibly could before. So.
Wow. And how long did it take before you were in the ring on a show?
Excluding a Rumble, it took me about 3 months.
Gotcha. That's a pretty fast track.
Yeah.
Okay. And so was the butcher shop thing your first forte into DCW?
Yeah. So the idea behind the butcher shop was we're going to take a veteran in Big Vig and we're going to pair him with people that he can basically tell them what to do from the sidelines in like a coaching role. And so that's where it came in that I got paired with Vig because there was me and my old tag team partner 2-Bit and we were green. And it was a way of him being able to control the situation and guide us along so it didn't look completely awful. Because as you guys know, first dozen matches aren't going to be the greatest.
Nope.
Right. You were the perfect lackey.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, Vic,
nobody has to.
So we got 2 bump dummies in there for me.
Yeah, nobody comes out having like a Shawn Michaels quality match on their first match out. So
yeah, it would be great if it were that way.
Right.
What was your first match on a show besides the Battle Royal?
My first match on a show was a 6-man tag, and it was the Butcher Shop versus the Brother Smith and Manny Lemons.
Was that the original Brother Smith, or was that the last incarnation of them?
That was the original Brother Smith with Brother Adley and Brother Chase.
Gotcha. I remember the first DCW show I went to. I was lined up to get into the venue, and those Brothers Smith were outside, like greeting everybody and stuff. That was my first introduction to DCW.
Wow.
Yes.
And he came back after that.
I know, right? Hey, I've seen worse. I've been around a long time.
That's fair. That's very fair.
So take us through kind of the butcher shop storyline, like where that go, and then obviously you were there until Big Vig left DCW. Is that correct? Or were you out before he left?
I was out before he left because what had happened was Two-Bit had left. He had gotten injured, tore his rotator cuff, and he decided that he wasn't able to do this anymore. And then Rekka Tehaka was originally a part of the butcher shop as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she just got such a positive reaction from the crowd that they're like, well, we can't have her with these thugs. So we did a little story arc there where we were going to jump, me and Vig were going to jump Manny, and she came out to save him. And then we did that pre-tape outside. I'm not sure if you remember this, Psycho, where Vig basically left me with you and said, I'm done.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. So Vig was still there, and he was doing it, and then he ended up tagging with Sowell. And that was back when he was the heavyweight champion. So, yeah.
So basically, he abandoned you, and then and then you started becoming my patient as Dr. Psycho. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, he abandoned me, and I ended up having a mental breakdown and getting left with you.
Tough break.
Yeah, could have been worse.
Yes, and then so what are your memories of being my client before you so rudely broke that up?
Oh, the memories. Those suppressed memories. I remember us going to the finals in the tag tournament. I remember the violent videos and me in that little bitty room with me, you, and Glade in, and me just beating my head against the wall, wanting out.
Were you part of the kind of the group therapy session pre-tapes that we were doing?
I was. That's actually where I started out, because it was, Vig thinks this guy needs therapy, we're going to send him to Psycho, and then just abandoned me there.
Right. I liked those pre-tapes of the group therapy. There was a lot we could have done with that probably, but
definitely had people stayed and not got injured, and it had a lot of potential, and I love doing that.
Yeah, and then so when you got to the finals of the tag title tournament, technically I still say that you and Josh Glade were the first tag champions, even though they reversed the decision.
See, and I'm right there with you, man. We were first tag team. We won fair and square
for about 30 seconds.
That's long enough, man. Patrick Mahomes did it.
Yeah, and then I got thrown out, and then you guys won the tag titles, and then they reversed the decision, and the Brother Smith ended up getting the tag titles. And then you and I started this feud, right, where you were basically bossing me around a lot.
Yep. I reverted back to that old school thug mindset that Big wanted me to have, and that's all I needed, because I needed guidance, but I didn't feel like I needed it from you, that I could do it myself.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, where you started breaking out into your own guy, where you didn't need anybody else anymore. And then you got me fired as the doctor, right?
I did.
Yeah, and then it ended up being a match, me versus you, and you ended up choking me with the chain, and I remember going into that match, and remember you wanted you were like, can we get color, right? Can one of us bleed?
Yeah.
And of course, because we were on TV at that point, that Manny didn't want blood. So
yeah, well, I mean, to me it would have made sense, because for a year I was being basically tortured by you.
Yeah.
To drive me to that point, and I was like, well, it makes sense that I would let out all that anger on you. until I cut those strings.
I think what ended up happening though, I think it was pretty memorable, with you choking me out and beating me with the chain.
No.
So I thought it turned out pretty well.
Oh yeah, our storyline. I mean, even when we were in heavy contact with Al Snow, was one of his favorites.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I hadn't heard that, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, that one, and then the one with me going at it with Glade. Of course, he did because it reminded him of Head a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So around this time was when Vince Russo came in, like right before that. What were your thoughts of Vince Russo coming in as head booker and basically producing our pre-tapes?
Excited doesn't even begin to describe it, man. I mean, he wrote the 90s, he wrote the Attitude Era, and he's where the whole gimmick that I have now came from. It was that he had us cut promos, of course, you guys were there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he couldn't really critique me. He told me that I was the best promo he heard in the past 6 months at the time, and that of course popped me. And then he pulls me aside and says, you remind me of Joe Pesci, so we're gonna make you this little mobster, and kind of just took off from there.
Yeah, and then you went into your feud with Josh Glade, and you basically were tormenting him at that point, right?
Yep. Unfortunately, I followed that. I fell into that sick cycle of abuse, but it happened. I felt that it was necessary because he cost me my belts. He cost me those tag team championships, right? That was 110% on him losing his cool.
Right. That's how it happened. Yeah, and then you really broke out on your own as that Joe Pesci type of mob leader. Your promo style, and was it Vince Russo that came up with the capiche line?
Yeah, he's the one who said I should finish my every promo with that capiche. That way they know he's done, he's serious.
I remember when we'd get the we'd get the card and get the scripts for the promos and everything, how Russo would always have typos in it, and it said something besides capiche, because I remember thinking, what is that? It wasn't capiche.
It was gabiche. He spelled it.
That's
like gabiche. What's gabiche?
Yeah, that's like when he'd write Tombstone Jesus. He wouldn't put Tombstone Jesus. He'd put Tombstone Cowboy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or I guess when Russo would say Devotional Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, but
times though. I mean, having him backstage too before everything with the pandemic happened, his way of direction was superb. He knew what he wanted and how to get to each person to get that point across.
Oh, he was
amazing.
He was great with just his critiques of the promos and his direction. He would be able to take a good promo and then tweak it in the places you wouldn't even think to tweak it, and he would turn it into a great promo and a great preview.
Oh yeah, his attention to detail is superb when it comes to that.
Yes, I'm kind of sad that the whole pandemic basically put an end to him coming out. So,
yeah, me too.
Who knows what could have been there?
Right.
But no, it was so you got into a feud with Josh Glade, and then you started getting Lola involved as well, right?
I didn't get Lola involved. Lola got herself involved because she sees somebody getting picked on. She's gonna stand up for that person because she's a good person.
She's got a kind heart.
Yeah, she's got a kind heart, and she saw what I was doing to Glade, and she thought that's not fair. That's not right. I'm gonna try and he needs a friend, and I'm gonna be that friend.
Yeah, and then you kept you introduced, I think, the doll, the baby Yoda doll, right?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, and then Josh Glade just wanted the doll, and Lola wouldn't understand why you wouldn't give it to him.
The way I saw it with Glade was he was a big dumb animal, and if you're training a dog, they only get a treat when they're good. If he wasn't good, he didn't get the doll. So I took it from him, and he could throw his little hissy fit. But once he was good, I stayed true to my word, and I gave him the time that he needed, or the time that I felt was necessary.
It was actually really a great storyline of where you were controlling him with that doll and basically making him do your dirty business for you.
Yeah,
it was a good storyline, and then it kind of all culminated when you had that ladder match with him for the doll.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are your memories of that ladder match?
Ladders suck. I mean, that was my first ladder match, and I remember him telling me, "Cam, gonna body slam me on the ladder," and I was like, "No, great." So he picks me up for a body slam, and he slams me, and I was ready for the ladder, but he slammed me on the ground first because he had to set the ladder up. So I start getting up, picks me up again, and body slams me on the ladder, and I just remember feeling my soul leave my body for a minute. And oh, God, no. And then he hit the Vader bomb off of that. I remember the fact that match won Match of the Year it definitely meant a lot to me. Storyline-wise, it was great because it was that emotional development between him and Lola for like showing that he does care for more than that doll. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, that whole storyline was great. The pre-tapes were great with you, Josh Glade, and Lola. And I'm sure when we had Lola on the show, she said that one of her favorite pre-tapes was when she followed you into the bathroom and saw your inchworm.
Oh God!
What were your thoughts on
that? I mean, it was funny. I can't be mad at that. Like, it was funny. It was a little bit humbling as well, which God knows I need that every now and again. But she got me good with that one. I think she actually improv that line.
I don't think she did. I'm pretty sure it said inchworm on the sheet, but
I don't remember.
But
I'll give her the credit anyways.
Yes, yeah. Sure, why not? So I remember the battle royal where you ended up winning the Devotion Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. What are your memories on that? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't know that was happening before it happened.
I did not. All I got told was do that cowardly heel thing where you get in the ring, you're entered in, then you roll out of the bottom rope, and you stay out there. At one point, I think it was Derek, came in, grabbed me, threw me into the ring, and started laying hands on me. And that's when I found out. Was right there.
So Derek told you?
Yeah, so he put me in the corner and he starts lighting me up and he says, Glade's going to eliminate me. Manny's going to eliminate Glade. You're going to eliminate... Glade's going to eliminate Manny and then you're going to eliminate Glade congratulations, kid, you're going over. And there's a spot, like if you go back and you watch that battle royal, you'll see it in my face because I'm trying so hard not to break character, and I just start lighting Manny up. And that's how I found out, was middle of the match, and I'm trying not to freak out because it was my first championship or singles championship.
Right. So were you pretty obviously you were shocked, right? But you were pretty ecstatic then.
Oh, very, very. I mean, if you love wrestling and you put in the work and you put in the effort, being told you're going to win the belt just means that they've noticed. Like, management's noticed everything you've done or everything you are doing, and they're willing to take that extra step just to make you the face of the company. And I mean, I've been working my backside off for 5 years just trying to get in shape and getting ring ready. And so when I found out, it was like, wow, all that for this moment, and it is so worth it now.
So yeah, I remember none of us knew who was winning that match. So we were all pretty shocked in the back, and we were so happy for you, man. We knew that it was going on the right person, and that you deserved it. And so it's always nice when people that put in the work get rewarded. And that's kind of the feeling it was backstage. And I remember you came back through the curtain and we all gave you a standing ovation. And it was one of those really special, genuine, unique moments that you don't get a lot of.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I remember going backstage and just losing it because, it meant a lot to me, man. And it meant a lot coming back and knowing that I had all of your guys' support, because, I mean, I was giving hugs and I was crying the entire time holding that belt.
So before the match started, like, did Manny, like, obviously you guys, so did you guys not know who was going, like, did they tell you somebody else was going over and they changed it, or was it just you'll find out when you get out there, basically?
As far as I knew, and as far as I remember, it was going to be Manny. And then I was going to feud with Manny for the belt. Because it was, that's what I was told, remember being told, because it was, oh yeah, we're just going to have you go in there. It'll be you and Manny. You'll be fresh. He'll pull a quick one on you, and that'll be it. And then once Derek told me, like, hey, this is how it's going down, I was taken back.
So yeah, I think it was one of those moments where they because you and Josh Glade and the Lola storyline, you guys were getting so much airtime on the TV shows because you guys were getting over with it. And so it was nice that I think that because you guys got over with that storyline and it was the top storyline, it only made sense to involve the championship because it was already the top storyline. So it was the right call. And then basically your storyline with Josh Glade, it had the championship to warrant it being the top storyline. So so then you kept feuding with Josh Glade and kept doing the Lola storyline. And I think how long did you hold the championship before Josh Glade won it from you?
I think it was about 3 months before he finally took it from me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what are your memories of dropping it to Josh Glade?
So what had happened is after I had won the belt and Glade thought that he deserved it, he deserved a title shot, I reintroduced the Butcher Shop with, of course, new members. ultimately that was my downfall, because I didn't even get pinned for the belt when I lost it to Glade. It was a 3-on-1 handicap match, and Steele was the one that took the pin, therefore costing me my belt.
Right.
And then the match after that, Andrew Sowell injected himself into the match, and I said, no, he didn't pin me, I deserve a fair shake. So it ended up being this triple threat for the belt, which ultimately I lost as well.
So when you actually now are heading the butcher shop, I remember that Manny told me that you wanted so badly to have your own butcher shop, and you had for since the beginning. Why was that so important for you, is to reform the butcher shop and be the head of it?
I think it was important to me because it was my first faction. So sentimental value was there, but more importantly, the idea behind it, where you take one person, you build a crew around them, but you have a veteran and 2 greenies. And the people I got, Solomon and Steele, they were really green, and they needed direction. And I felt that with somebody like Solomon and somebody like Steele, it would have benefited them as well. It was more for a teaching aspect than it was for the actual gimmick itself.
Right, that makes sense. And I gotta say that the new butcher shop was, I think, just as good, or maybe even a little bit better than the original. So, and I'm not kissing ass there.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. It definitely had its ups and downs. With Steele being there, it was difficult to get her over as the heel. Because you degrade a woman in any way, especially when I was standing outside the ring, calling her stupid, calling her pathetic, saying she didn't deserve to be in there. That automatically turns. She does that turn. And then with Solomon, it was natural because he was big and intimidating. So, okay, yeah, if he's out there bullying people, makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So after you lose the championship, where did your story go from there? Did you feel like you had a direction? Where did you see things going?
I honestly didn't know, because I'd been feuding with Glade and Lola for so long, and then we had that feud with you again and Craig Washington IV.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
No, it did not, unfortunately, because I think that was another great idea that Russo had. But I don't even remember the story. I don't think I had a storyline up until, I want to say, like 4 months after I lost the championship. Because I came in, so it was our October show. They said, hey, you're going to work Irish Extreme. And that's the last opponent I had before I started this whole I'm the face of devotion run.
Okay, and then refresh my memory. Then what? How did that whole process go?
So I go out. I basically make an example of Irish Extreme. I beat the tar out of him. I go to the back. I cut a pre-tape of me running my mouth to basically the entire roster, saying that there's no one that can compete with me. And then next show, Manny comes out and starts talking about he needs somebody to step up. And I cut him off, and I was like, who better than me? Why not me? And so it was me versus, that show it was Brett versus Solomon, Rekka versus Steele, me versus Manny, and then the triple threat came first, but it was a clean sweep. And the story we were telling is that I really didn't need the butcher shop, but I had them there just in case, but they needed me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got involved in their matches and they didn't get anywhere near me or mine.
Okay. And so how far away is that from when you got injured?
That was about 8-9 months before I got injured.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a ways out.
Okay. I'm sorry, the last year's like a blur.
I feel that, man. It went by so quick, and there was so much that we did. It was nuts.
Yes, it was. How did you get injured? Was it something that was just wear and tear over a period of time? Was it a single moment? Talk us through that injury.
I mean, I can't pinpoint exactly when it happened. The first time that I felt any symptoms from it, it was at a training, and I took a bump, and my whole body from the neck down just felt like static, like that pins and needles feeling everywhere, and it went away really quick, and I was like, that was odd. And so I kept working, and then in the mat, I had the unification match with Chatwin.
Yes.
That's when I realized something is really, really wrong. He went to shoot me off the ropes, and if you watch it back, there's a spot where I just fall into the middle rope. And I fell because I couldn't feel where my legs were. I took that big step out, and then my other one didn't want to move. And I just drug it, and it caused me to fall. And I was like, okay, something's not right.
And so what was your feeling when you found out that, the severity of the injury?
I was shocked. I was scared. I was really scared. Because after I found out, I worked 3 more shows. And it wasn't getting better. So when I found out and they told me how severe it was, that I risked being a quadriplegic, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I shut down, because you don't want to hear that, you can't do what you love doing anymore, or at least for a while.
What?
Before you go on, let's just clarify what the injury was.
So I had a herniated disc in my C4 vertebrae that was pressing into my spinal cord, and that's why I was getting the numb and tingling every time I bumped. Originally, it was diagnosed as something called cervical kyphosis, which just means you're supposed to have this little curve in your neck, and mine is completely straight. So they had to basically remove the disc, and they gave me a brand new titanium one.
Wow.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, it's a very similar injury that Edge or Benoit, Paul Orndorff, all had ones very similar to this kind of injury, and it's ones that have taken people out of the business in general because of such.
Yep.
What was Manny's reaction when you told him about it?
He was upset, obviously. He was worried about me. I mean, he was understanding, but I think it was more worry than anything because, you know, he's a friend of mine. And he was more worried for me as a friend than he was as my boss, which meant a lot.
All right. So at this time you had basically unified the core championship and the Utah State Television Championship. Is that right?
Right. This was so when I found out about the injury and that I needed surgery, I had just dumped the core belt in the trash.
Yes.
And I was just going to remain the Utah State Television Champion.
Yeah. And so when was the decision made to have you basically relinquish and vacate the championship and cut the promo and put it on the rope?
As soon as I found out that I needed surgery. So what had happened was when I went and got my MRI done, and I went and saw 2 doctors in the same day. Both of them are spinal cord specialists. One just specializes more in sports-related injuries than the other. The first doctor told me, "Oh, you'll be fine with physical therapy, and we'll give you a couple of shots of cortisone, some steroids, and you'll be fine." The second doctor, as soon as he looked at it, he was like, "You need surgery, like today." So I was able to do the show, and I told Manny about it, and that's when the decision was made that I was going to drop the belt and say my goodbye.
Okay.
So it was like, it ended up being like the week before my surgery that I had to give it up.
And how, obviously that was a very emotional moment when you had to step into the ring and let everybody know. How, I guess, you know, what was your thought process as you were going through that?
That I didn't want to do it. I was dreading that promo. I was dreading that whole day. From the time I woke up and, you know, got ready for the show, driving down to the show, I drove down in complete silence. I mean, even backstage, I wasn't my normal self because this is what I love. And I was willing to sacrifice anything to keep doing it. So when I got out there, when the moment came and my music hit and I'm walking out and I'm hearing the boos and shut up Cutting, go away Cutting, I was trying very hard at that moment not to cry because this is something I've always wanted, and I was living my dream and it got taken away from me.
So obviously at this point, so you're out to do your surgery and everything like that. How did the surgery go?
The surgery went great. I was up and walking within 2 days. I had full feeling back in my hands and in my chest the day of the surgery. And I mean, I had full grip in my hands, which was something I hadn't had in like 4 or 5 months. So everything with the surgery went smooth, and thank God.
Right.
For sure. I just remember the video you sent in the chat, and you were so drugged up at that point.
Yes, I was. When they take me into surgery, they do the count backwards from 10, or say the ABCs or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I remember going down the hallway, getting into the operating room, them getting the bed already, saying, "Can you transfer yourself to the bed?" I said yes. I transferred myself to the bed, and that's all I remember. Out cold. Not even you want to count backwards from 10? I was done. Out.
So after you get done with the surgery and it goes well and everything, obviously while you're out, you probably did you go to Manny and basically say that you wanted to stay on the shows in some capacity and to find a spot, or was that something that Manny approached you with? What was that process like?
So that actually happened the night I said goodbye. I told him that after my surgery, I still want to be involved. That in some way, shape, or form, I'm still going to be there no matter what. I'm still going to show up to trainings. I'm still going to, show up to help with shows as best I can. And Manny was like, well, we'll figure something out. And I had actually just watched WrestleMania 18, and that was my favorite WrestleMania. And it was the story arc between Ric Flair and The Undertaker, where Ric Flair had bought half of WWE, and I pitched that idea to Manny, and I said, what if we did something like this? What would you think about that? And he said, well, we'll see how you're recovering it, how you're going with recovery and everything. It ended up being good enough that he was like, okay, yeah, we'll bring you back. And this is what we'll do.
Very nice. You make a very good figurehead. Although it seems like at times you're kind of playing it in a heel role, and other times it seems like you're kind of being a baby face. How would you describe your role right now?
Oh, I'm still the Bonesaw. I'm still that angry mob boss, and I feel that with me being injured, that the roster itself is going to be trying to bully me around because I can't do anything about it. So why not pick on the one who can't fight back? But I got other ways. I feel like I'm a tweener at this point because the crowd reacts to me as a face. When I left, there was the term.
Sure.
A lot of thank you cuttings, don't go, standing ovation on my way out, and I appreciate the hell out of the fans for that. So I still have that mindset of you're not going to bully me around. You're not going to pick on me. I own this company. I am still the boss. So it comes off a little heelish. It's because I'm kind of angry about that. They were trying to take advantage like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of hard to, anytime somebody's has an injury of any sort and they're out, it's hard for that person to still be a heel, because especially if they have that connection with the audience, right? So there almost has to be that that slant towards a babyface side, I think. Because sometimes people just won't boo you, because you're too sympathetic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So what does the future hold for William Cutting as far as with the surgery being done? Is there going to be a projected return? Do you hope to come back, at full strength? What has been the timeline that you've been given?
So originally the timeline that I was given was never. As when I came out of surgery, they told me that I will never wrestle again because of the damage done to my spinal cord. Then I had my checkup after that, and they said, well, I mean, you look like you're healing pretty well. Your neck's almost brand new. You have full feeling. You still have some numbness in your legs. We'll give it a year or two. And that's kind of what we're sitting at right now. Once I get full feeling back in my legs, then they said I should be able to compete again.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely still a long game at this point.
Oh, definitely in it for the long haul. But I mean, I'm hitting up physical therapy. Well, I'm doing the physical therapy exercises that they gave me, and I'm making sure I'm not doing too much. I'm still not lifting super heavy at the gym, mostly doing cardio and toning exercises. So, I mean, we'll see in 3 months when I go back for my x-rays then what they tell me.
Well, I'm pulling for you. I hope.
Appreciate
I hope.
Me too, man.
Hopefully, one day you'll make a full recovery and be able to do what you love again.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because I mean, being a commissioner is fun, and like I get to flex my strengths, which is on the mic. But ultimately, you want to be in there competing. You want to be in there popping the crowd and getting them to hate you or love you. And, I mean, you want to be able to go in there and tell that story. And I'm hoping one day, hopefully soon, I'll be able to do that.
Well,
Yeah,
and
very much so, man.
I think because you've got this, you're still in the public eye as far as being an on-screen character, and you're still doing all of that, then the fans definitely won't forget you, right? So it'll be an easy transition when the time comes.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
Brian, do you have any follow-up questions or anything to touch on there?
Oh, a couple things. One, I'm hoping for sooner than later recovery myself for you. Largely because you and I have never really had a chance to work a program. I don't even think we actually have had a match outside of practices.
We have
And on Twitch, it's just like
Twitch
practice.
doesn't count.
Yeah, but we never had a chance to do it in front of a good DCW crowd.
Yeah.
And even that, the practice matches that you and I have had, even the ones on Twitch, were some of my favorite matches because you and I just had good chemistry together. We worked well together, and yeah, I'd like to do that in the future with you. So get off your ass. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I really do, because working you was I always had fun working you. I really did.
Same here, brother. Now, before wrestling, you and I have talked before about this. You did a little bit of the freak show stuff. Before that, how do you think that helped you with going into this career of wrestling?
I think it gave me a little bit of an edge as far as a performer goes. I mean, most freak shows, they go out there and they swallow the sword, or they breathe fire. They do what I used to do was the pain tolerance thing. But I had a little bit more freedom than most other people, mainly because I was best friends with the person that held these events. And so I was able to always tell a story while doing my performances. For instance, my last freak show that I did, with my status in that community, we had this giant, it was an old shoe shining chair brought in, and we dressed it up like it was a throne. And they put me on the throne, and they put needles in my arms, and they had this giant white cloth, like white silk cloth that came down from the rafters, and they attached it into the needles in my arms, and I was able to descend from the throne, rip the needles out, and when I performed, I'd always wear a mask. Whether it be, I have one mask in particular, it looks like a crown on my face. And I took that mask off for the first time ever performing, and I hung it up on what's called a crucifix. And basically, it's just this giant X. And they took that barbed wire whip that I use in wrestling, and they hit me with it until I couldn't stand. And that was how I said goodbye to that. And being able to tell that story and have that mindset has definitely transitioned well for me. So that's definitely an advantage. Plus, I got a pretty cool weapon out of it that I've never seen anywhere else.
Right. Well, and I think that works out so well because you do such a great job in telling stories in your matches. And not just in your matches, but through the whole of the arc of the program that you're working. I think that your stuff on Freak Show telling that stories has done such a great job in training you naturally to tell those kind of stories.
Well, I appreciate that because it was a lot of hard work. I mean, even now when it's something's given to you, saying, "Hey, this is what you're doing. This is a story I want told." To do the homework, to do the research, is exhausting sometimes because there's so much of it. But if you do the work and you do what you're told and you follow the directions, I mean, it ends up being something beautiful and entertaining.
I very much agree. Some of the stuff that you've done with Josh Glade and Psycho, even, and those storylines, the stuff with Lola, those have been some great stories that you were able to tell by having these large arcs. I mean, you and Josh Glade had a year and a half of a program essentially that you guys did. A majority of your career was you just programming you and Josh Glade on some variety. So, but now that you're not able to continue working, I know you've kind of taken more of a mentorial role and a training role for the members of the Al Snow Wrestling Academy Utah. How does that mindset change for you? Like, how have you felt about going from being only training a couple of years ago, being on their end, to now helping the next generation come along?
I mean, it's an honor to know that I've been trusted with that they've seen that much improvement with me in that 4-year span is incredible. I love teaching the students. I love teaching the kids class. They're a lot of fun. Wish I had that much energy again, but
it's you just stab yourself with a needle again,
right?
I mean, you ever want to feel old? Hang out with some youngsters.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. We had one of the students the other day decided that she wanted to run the ropes for as much as she could, and she did. I think it was like 55 or 60 rope runs before we're like, all right, we get it. We're gonna have you stop right there. I feel old. My knees hurt watching you. We get it. You're young. Yeah. Keep that. As long as you can.
It's right. I mean, you look at Psycho, he runs those ropes like that now. That's the only thing he does, but he does do it.
That's right. So. I meant doing I did 45 last week, so I probably could have done more, but I'm right there. I still got it.
How bad did you hurt the next day, though?
No, it was... it really didn't affect me that much. Cardio is one of my... The last things that hasn't taken too big of a hit. Now bumping, that's a whole other story. After I take a bump at this age, now I feel it.
At this age, I'm only a couple years younger than you, man. And I bump like crazy.
What is there, a 5-year age gap?
Yeah, about that 4 or 5 years.
That 5 years is a lot. 5 years ago, I was a different person. Okay.
I mean, I guess that's true. But you didn't get, kicked in the face by the princess on Saturday.
Ooh.
Still hurting on that.
No, I got a racket to the face at bar fights. So
I guess that's true.
I heard about that. I heard your face swole up and made it look like you got your teeth pulled, man.
Oh, I'm not ready to get stiffed.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that.
Well, Cuddy, as we continue to go on with this, you've done such a great job in transitioning to every aspect of your career so far. And assuming that you're coming back in the next couple of years, is there somebody that you would like to work, either currently in the business or somebody that's coming up through training or anything like that?
Through training, in our own school, yeah, there's a couple of kids that I see a lot of potential in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if they stay with it, they'll be great. They'll definitely do what needs to be done, but the problem is getting them to stick with it. As far as like overall arcing, I mean, with this injury, I've missed a lot of opportunities. Manny told me that in that tag match that he had with Dreamer, so Dreamer and Manny versus Chatwin and Sowell, that it was actually supposed to be me in there, and I would have loved to work Dreamer in a hardcore match. Have him get me with that barbed wire, or vice versa. I think that would have been a beautiful thing. Martin, of course, I would love to work. I'd love to get a match in with you. I would really, really like a match with Sin Bodhi. I mean, he runs the freak show gimmick. I mean, that's his wheelhouse, and I think that if I were able to go back to my roots as a freak show performer, me and him could do something amazing.
Yeah, I think you two could definitely have a good match, maybe in a good program in general, where you did a blow off of a hardcore match just because of the tolerances that you both have.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys could do something really special. And Sin's such a great guy, and such a smart worker. He would definitely come up with a great match story for you guys.
And we've had Sin Bodhi come into DCW, so the connection's already there.
Right.
Oh yeah. So
definitely. Or if I could, God willing, one day have a match with Bray Wyatt, Wyndham.
Yes.
I'd mark out for that. I'm a huge fan.
Well,
gimmick wrestling, I miss it so much.
Well, with that, guys, hit us up on our social medias. Tell us what you guys would like to see if in the future that Cutting is able to work again, and who you guys would like to see him work a match or a program with in the future. I know that there's tons of people out there that would like to see that. I know of a couple people off the top of my head in the indies. I would love to see him work with. Just I think they would have some great chemistry matches and things like that. But with that being said, guys, I think we're about time to wrap it up. Do you guys have anything else before we go?
Cutting, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, follow Devotion Championship Wrestling on Fight, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram at Bonesaw Will. Twitter, I believe, is the same. And if you use pre-workout or any supplements like that, recommend Bucked Up. Use code Cutting20 at checkout, 20% off your order. How's that for a cheap plug?
I love it. Go. That is hilarious.
Before we go on, I gotta tell a quick story. For about 6 months, Cutting was waiting back to be an ambassador for for Bucked Up, and everybody else in Devotion was able to become an ambassador before Cuddy. It was so funny. We all were just doing it to just spite him after a while.
Here's the thing, though. It wasn't just that 6-month period where you guys were doing it. I had been trying since I started losing weight to get into wrestling. So I'd been trying for 4 years to get that ambassadorship. And all it took, and this pissed me off, when all of you guys got it, is I changed the email when I submitted my application. And they said, yeah, you're good. You're an ambassador. Here's the link. And they would send me like little teasers even before I was an ambassador. Like they'd send the link to the ambassador app to my email. And then I message them like, hey, I didn't get like my ambassador login. Oh, well, you're not an ambassador. Why did I get the link, man? Come on.
What was wrong with your email, Cutting?
I have no idea. I mean, before, so I had to clean up Instagram, of course, because of what we do now. As far as I used to have a bunch of pictures of some of the freak show stuff that I did on there. So I cleaned it up, created a whole new Instagram. And then they were like, okay, yeah,
you can do it. There you go.
And so you can follow me on Facebook at Psycho Wrestling. And yeah, that's all I got. Ryan?
Well, like I mentioned before, go to everything, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as Be Hero Media. Go to BeHeroMedia.com, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/C/BeHero to catch up on our Be Hero Media regular show. But for everything that is Bucked Up, or Bucked Up, the bump card, you guys can follow us there on social media to find all of that. So go ahead and please hit those like buttons and write a review for us, especially if you have Apple. It'll only help us out. Okay, guys? Well, guys, it was great having you on, Cutting. I hope to have you on again in the future to tell us how your return to the wrestling world is. Hopefully sooner rather than later, and how much fun our program was.
Yeah. Always a blast, you guys.
Always, brother.
Yes.
Always. But for the rest of the bump card, this is us tapping out. Have a good night, guys.